And welcome back to Hannity. Now, the legal gun owners that you just heard from are asking what can they do to protect their right to privacy. And even I have now been impacted in recent weeks. A liberal left-wing entity published that I am, in fact, a law-abiding gun owner here in New York with a pistol carry permit. So is there any legal recourse that we can take? Joining me now to help explain how we can fight back is someone who was also herself outed by the Journal News, Judge Jeanine Pirro. Her show, Justice with Judge Jeanine, airs Saturday night right here on the Fox News channel on 9 p.m. This weekend, one of our producers, by the way, confronted the editor of the paper. Judge, how are you? Good to see you.
Terrific, thanks.
You were outed. This is not the first time for me. It's happened before.
It's not the first time for me either. In fact, I've said very proudly I'm a gun owner. But you see, the difference between me and so many other people, like a battered woman or a witness who's testified in a case where a defendant is sitting in prison waiting to get even with this person, is that I was a public official. I was an elected DA. I was an elected judge. I mean, you know, I understand what it means to be a public official, as you do.
I actually agree that I don't really mind in my case.
It's not about us.
It's not about us. Plus, my address wasn't given out. Everybody here in this audience.
Mine was.
In your case, you were. But everyone in the audience, they had their addresses given out. I mean, I think that makes it dangerous for them and for the people that don't own guns.
But it's even better because they did it in an interactive map. So it's not like it's just a printed address. It's like where they are in Westchester, in Rockland, you know, where they are in relation to the highway, basically how you get there. Then you link it and you can get the front of the house, the back of the house. It's an outrage. But what's more outrageous is that the Journal News, and I dealt with them for 30 years, they are in a hole. They are hiding. They're like a deer in the headlights. They are the purveyors of information, and they are unable to answer a question. People who called me over and over and over, we want answers. They follow your kids to school. They call you repeatedly. They come to your house. They talk to your friends. They are in a hole being protected by people with guns. This elitist, left-wing, egghead organization that is part of an anti-gun agenda is now hiding, and they are, in essence, the pinnacle of hypocrisy.
You were DA for how long?
I was DA for 12 years, assistant DA for 15 years, a county judge. I mean,
you've done it all, and you're still 28 years old. It's amazing. But in all seriousness, this is not an area that is crime-free.
Not at all.
You've dealt with pedophiles.
I prosecuted 40,000 cases a year in Westchester County.
That's the point.
It may be an affluent suburban community, but there are crime areas in the county just as there is in every other part of the country. And so the question that you're going to ask is, do you have a recourse? No. Right now, the answer is no. That information, your name and your address, is public. But what the Journal News wanted, Sean, was they wanted to know how many guns, what caliber of gun, what judge signed your permit. And by the way, I used to sign pistol permits as a judge. And make no mistake, to get a permit in New York State, you've got to comply with a background check that involves your criminal history, your reputation in the community, your mental health issues. It's not easy. I used to bring them in.
No, this is New York. It's very hard to get a gun permit here. What do you think the purpose was? I think to intimidate all the people here and all the people on that list. I think they had a very anti-Second Amendment agenda, and that's why they put this together. Right or wrong?
And I agree with you. I think the purpose was to intimidate, and I think they have intimidated a lot of people who are frightened, who are being held up to a lot of criticism. This is a very hot-button issue, but what they're saying is our First Amendment is more important than your Second Amendment. The United States Supreme Court has made very clear that the Second Amendment that we read about in the Constitution is not just about the militia. It's about the ability of the individual to protect himself or herself, as we have just seen in cases in Georgia where a woman just learned how to use a gun and a guy's breaking into her house. The cops can't make it.
Let me put something on the screen. George Mason, as you know, and I'm sure everybody here, is the co-author of the Second Amendment. Interesting, right? Now, the left has been focused all over this word militia, and he co-authored the Second Amendment, and he says, I ask, sir, what is the militia? It is the whole people. To disarm the people is the best and most effectual way to enslave them. Now, I think that kind of puts to rest what they meant by a well-regulated militia.
Well, there's no question, but it doesn't even matter what you mean, what the word militia means. I don't care if you think it means people from Mars. The bottom line is that the highest court in this nation has said
correct.
It's about the individual's right. And if they do it legally, and if there is a review, and if a judge has to sign that permit, shame on you. And I'm going to tell you something else. In 30 years in law enforcement, and I was a chief law enforcement officer of a county of 1 million people, I saw one murder with a legal gun. These murders and crimes are being committed with illegal guns. It's not the legal gun owners that they've outed here and here and here. It's the people who are running guns. And by the way, I'm not even going to go near what happened when we were running guns through the Mexican border.
You mean Operation
Fast and Furious?
Yeah. Well, it isn't. You all know this story? Oh, yeah. I mean, our government gives guns to drug dealers, murderers, criminals,
Mexican
kidnappers.
Cartels.
Yeah, and they kill American agents, and then they won't tell us anything about it.
Right.
One of the things we're going to play later, Judge Jeanine, we have a 911 tape, woman in Georgia, somebody breaks into her house, and we've got the tape, and she has to shoot this guy to protect her 9-year-old kids. What would happen if any of these people that are here experience that? That's what's at stake in this. And also the people that don't have guns, well, now every criminal in Westchester in the world knows they don't have the way to protect themselves.
Right.
Which house would you target?
I think I'd target the one without guns, or if I knew what the person wasn't working, I'd break into the house to get the guns if I'm a gangbanger or a drug dealer.
All right. Jeanine, thank you. Good to see you. And make sure, by the way, tune in this Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fox News Channel, a special edition of Just This with Judge Jeanine, and her show confronted the Journal News editor, so you can tune in and find out how that all went down.